HR to team. So let's start with why, all right? Obviously, we want to keep employees longer. We want to reduce turnover. But let's see how effective these things really are. Well, Gallup took a poll of 19,000 employees, and they talked to their employers and asked why did they leave. They talked to employees who left one company to go work for another, and the employer said that 89% of the time the employee left for better pay or benefits, and in reality, only 12% left for that reason. That is amazing to me. So, when you're trying to keep employees by offering them better pay and benefits, you're spending the money on 100% of your team and you're actually only influencing 12% of them. All right. There's more to it than that. Another interesting fact, 75% of the people said they left because of their boss. Now, that doesn't mean our supervisors or bosses are bad people. Most of the time, they just don't know how to interact with employees, and they don't know what the employee wants or needs or cares about or doesn't care about, and they don't have employees necessarily who know what they're supposed to do. It's really there's a lot of clarity problems. It's not that person's fault, okay? So here's the difference a really great team makes. It's pretty amazing. So um, teams are simply just much more effective. Google did a study. They called it Rework, and there's a link to it in your study guide. But it's amazing. They found that a good team could be 20 times, that's 2,000% more effective than a poor team. All right. Now, that may not be super surprising, but it's still pretty important. This one kind of blew me away. They found that a good team could be 20 times more effective than the sum of its members. Now, what that really emphasizes is that who is on a team matters less than how that team interacts and the structure of their work and things like that. All right? Okay, so those are great reasons to try to make your organization a team. But that's not really the best reason. And it's not the reason that I'm here, all right? Um, Great teams change lives. You know, we spend a lot of time at work. And we talked about the 5 keys to thriving, the connection and the progress and the purpose, all those things. It's when, you can go to work and just do your job, or you can go to work and you can make it a passionate, fulfilling adventure. And if the organization, you have employees, all right? I believe you are called to make their lives better. It's not like it's a good idea. It is your responsibility. And employees, the buck doesn't, it's not whether you work at a great organization or not all the time. There are things you have control over too. You have a responsibility to try to make your organization a wonderful place to be. This this is beyond it's nice for you, or it's nice for the organization, or it's more profitable. This is a basic calling of what makes human society work. I believe it's a basic calling of how God intended us to interact. It's a really big deal. Okay? So now, if that's true, then what the heck makes a team? Or what exactly is a team, first of all? All right, here's what a team is not. A team is not a working group. Think of a golf team, okay? A golf team, they go out and everybody does their best. And I'm not saying they don't care about each other. They probably do. But they do their best and they add up their scores. There is no sacrifice. Nobody sacrifices for another person and there's no coordinated strategy or different roles and tasks that, all that kind of stuff. It doesn't exist. All right. Now that is, though, exactly how most teams in organizations operate. Okay. A team is a much better example, obviously, as a football team. Okay. Everybody works together as a single group for a single score. All right. So people do sacrifice their own glory, and they often do many unnoticed things so that someone else scores. They're not all running backs. They're not all quarterbacks. They're not all wide receivers, okay? People know and understand their rules and their responsibilities, and everyone must depend on everyone else to get their job done. It's working together instead of working and putting it together, okay? So, anyways, so what makes a great team? Again, we've already covered that it's not who is on the team. Google found that out very clearly. It really, that who was on the team really didn't matter. There's a great story in the book called Extreme Ownership, and it's about Navy SEALs training. That's not what the book's about, but the story is, so they do this one exercise, and they had 7 boats, and they would give them something they had to do. They were rubber boats, and these teams would get in there, and they had to paddle out to this and do that and then come back. Okay, and it was a big race, and the first place team would often get to rest out the next exercise, and the last place team would normally have to do it twice or something along those lines. Okay, so they had this one time, they had this group, and one team was always winning and another team was always losing. So they simply switched the captains of the boat. That's all they did. They switched the captains, and the roles reversed. Not quite exactly. That better team, they had kind of got used to winning, so they very seldom actually lost, but they did much, much worse. But that team that lost consistently, they all at once were winning. It wasn't who was in the boat. It was how the boat functioned together that made all the difference. So what did Google find out? And I'm really going to look at two organizations here. Google did some great work on teams, and the other one is I admire the heck out of Patrick Lencioni. It's the Table Group is his consulting firm, and he wrote a book called The 5 Dysfunctions of a Team. But listen to this. Here's the keys to a great team, according to Google Rework Project. Psychological safety. In other words, can people talk and have conflict and say what's on their mind? Dependability. Can they count on each other to do what they say they're going to do in a high quality way and get it done on time? Do they have structure and clarity? Do they know and understand the goals and the plans? And is it all clear? Wonder what that sounds like. Meaning. What each of the people on the team, is what they're doing meaningful? All right. Are they working on something that's important to them? And are they making an impact? Okay. So, do they fundamentally believe that their work really matters? Purpose. So those things match our 5 keys to thriving very, 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 very well. And the idea of a focus plan and clarify, you've already done, if you're at this point, you've already done most of those things. Okay. Now, the 5 dysfunctions of a team. Lack of trust. Vulnerability trust. In other words, are they willing to risk something when they're depending on someone else to finish something? Fear of conflict. Sounds an awful lot like psychological safety, but do people passionately make a case for what they truly believe, even if other people disagree? Okay. Lack of commitment. All right, a decision's made. Now, do people actually work together for that decision, even if they disagreed about the decision? That's just core to what has to happen. All right. Okay. And then avoidance of accountability. You know, do they actually know and track what progress is? And are they willing to call each other out on it? Which is a lot like dependability from Google, which is a lot like what we were talking about making progress. All those things all fit together. And then the last dysfunction is an inattention to results. Do they actually demand results or do they make excuses? So you can see there's a ton of similarities between the list and between what you've done so far. Okay, so how does all this fit into the surviving to thriving system and what you're doing and all these things? We'll look at it. All right, you've made time. First of all, that day master's already done this for everybody who's involved. Now take that day master meeting and drive it down or up, depending upon where it started at, the organization. Make it, you know, if there's people that aren't involved but they're still on a team, get them together once in a day and talk, you know, for 8 minutes or whatever your day master meetings are. Make that meeting common throughout the organization. Clarify and focus. You know, that was a big thing. You've done this. You've created this focus plan. Now, you've done it. Now make it part of everything the organization does, which is what we're going to work on now, because making it part of everything your organization does means we make it relational. Everything is somewhat theoretical and not real until we make it part of how we communicate with each other and how we relate to each other as people. When that happens, when we end up with what we say we're focusing on being transparent and bi-directional, we can see it, it's out there for us to all see, and we're allowed to lead up the chain of command and down the chain of command. We're allowed to call each other out, hold each other accountable, and it's clear how to do it and why it's done. It becomes part of how we communicate. It becomes part of our relationships. That's what we're going to move into now. And it will change lives. And remember, not just the lives of all the people who are part of your organization, which is true, okay? But your organization has a life. And that life can be a fulfilling adventure, or it can be an exercise in futility, and a lot of things in between. Okay, so remember, life's never going to be a walk in the park, so don't go on a walk. Go on an adventure. Thank you.